to the SCORE Business Showcase. We have another exciting feature for you today, and we have the phenomenal Karen DeVecchio from the BRBC. We're going to be talking about networking, so let's get into it. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. Glad you made it. Now, tell us, what is the BRBC? What does that stand for?
So the BRBC is the Bridgeport Regional Business Council, and really what we are is the Regional Chamber of Commerce. I think sometimes people are confused because we don't have Chamber of Commerce in our name, but that is what we are.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you been there?
I have been there 12 and a half years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
So you must love your job.
I do love my job.
Excellent.
Actually. It's a nice thing to be able to say that.
And what is your what is your role at the BRBC?
I am the executive vice president. Well, we all wear many hats. So I'm the executive vice president, and in that part of my job, I'm responsible for everything we do related to membership, events, communications. Mickey Herbert, our president and CEO, he is really responsible for our economic development advocacy, more of the big picture things, where I'm responsible for the operations and the day-to-day operations. But I wear a second hat there as well. I'm the executive director of our Bridgeport Chamber of Commerce. So I work, that's one of our affiliates, I work with that volunteer board on things that are important to businesses in Bridgeport.
That's fantastic. And Bridgeport is still here, so you're having a good effect.
Yeah, yes. A lot of exciting things happening in Bridgeport. You look right down the street from here, the new comedy club, Harlan House. Drive up Main Street, you see all the construction and development on Main Street, on Downtown North project. You see the Dock Master building going up on Steel Point. There's a lot of great things happening here.
In fact, talking about Steel Point, what is going on with the MGM? Because there was an exciting, I saw an exciting feature about it. What's actually going on with that?
Well, there was a bill in front of our state legislature, and it was House Bill 5305, which allowed for an open competitive gaming process. And really what that was, it was not really specific to MGM and Bridgeport. What it was if the state of Connecticut were going to have another casino that was not on tribal land, then it should be an open and competitive gaming process, for who got the bid. So it really outlined what any company coming in, whether it were in Bridgeport or not, everyone should be allowed to put in a quote and a bid for it. So if eventually there wasn't a casino approved for Bridgeport, MGM could bid, the tribal casinos could bid, Wynn, Harrah, any of them could be a part of that process. And it was passed narrowly in the House, but the legislative session, it's too close to the end of the current session, and it will not be taken up in the Senate. So that bill will not go anywhere this year, but there's always next year.
All right, so it's not dead.
It's dead for this year, but I think there will be future.
Excellent. Yeah, because there's a lot of things leaving the state of Connecticut.
Right.
So it's good to see something that's actually coming in.
Right. And you have a company, MGM, that is willing to invest $675 million and ask for no taxpayer money from either the state or the city, and that just doesn't really come along very often.
Exactly. So hopefully they'll take another look at that somewhere down the road.
I hope so.
Now, what are some of the programs and incentives that the BRBC actually offers to small businesses out there?
So we have a pretty good variety of programs, initiatives, events, because our membership is so diverse. We have obviously People's United Bank, TD Bank, United Illuminating, Sikorsky. They are all great large corporate members. Aquarion, I could go on and on, but 75% of our members are small businesses, so the needs of small businesses are very important to us. So whatever we do around events and programming, we really have the small businesses in mind. We do a pretty wide variety of events, and again, because our membership is so diverse, we have to offer diverse things. So there are a lot of people that join and come to networking events, and that's what they want to do, or they want to be in the leads group. Other members invest in us and support us for the work that we do on economic development and advocacy. So I always say, if I've had people ask me, what does a chamber member want? And my answer is, it depends on the chamber member. Everybody is different, and if you talk to 10 different people, they would want 10 different things.
Now, how many events would you say you have every single month?
We do about 4 to 8, and they range from networking in our office. We have a monthly event called Coffee and Context where you can come learn more about the BRBC if you're not a member or a brand new member. And if you're a current member, you can come and always grow your network because there's always new people there. We do several large events a year. Our annual dinner last year featured Jim Murren, who is the chairman and CEO of MGM Resorts International. Our annual meeting, which will be in June, will have Bobby Valentine from Sacred Heart. So we do larger events like that as well.
Excellent, excellent. So you guys stay busy, and it's also a good opportunity for actually businesses to come in and network with other businesses, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I think every one of our events, whether it's our small coffee contacts or our large annual meeting and annual dinner, is an opportunity for people to grow their network, and that's always important.
Very good. Now, would you describe the leadership programs of the BRBC?
Yeah, actually, a little bit about our structure. So the Bridgeport Regional Business Council, the BRBC, is our overarching, kind of like the parent organization. And underneath that umbrella, we actually have 7 affiliates. We have Chambers of Commerce in Bridgeport, Stratford, and Trumbull. We have a women's leadership program, Leadership Greater Bridgeport, Thrive Emerging Leaders, and then we have an Economic Development Corporation. What they all have in common is that they have a staff person that's assigned to it as the executive director. They all have their own volunteer board of directors that works on their program of work. But we all work together at the BRBC. We have a common event calendar. We have a common work plan. But for our leadership programs, we're really proud of that work. Leadership Greater Bridgeport is just graduating our 29th class, so we're really excited to go into our 30th year next year.
That is exciting.
It is
because I was in the 7th class.
I was class 18.
Okay.
I was class 18.
All right, very good.
And so for those people that don't know, every year we take 25 to 30 people from the business community. They spend, it's really a school year with their class from October to June, 1 day a month, and they learn about different things in the region. So each program day has a different focus: economic development, sustainability, public health, public safety, arts and entertainment. This month is education. It's all different, and you visit places and you hear from people to give you an idea of what's going on in that particular subject matter. And it's there. The goal of our program is not leadership development, which is important as well, but it really is to build community leaders. The idea is that you will then leave Leadership Greater Bridgeport and run for elected office, volunteer for boards and committees, for nonprofits. So it really is to go make a difference in the community. Each year, the class splits up and does 4 or 5 community service projects for one of our local nonprofits. Some of them have been around for a long time and continue to have an impact. So that's an exciting piece of work as well.
And what was your project that you worked on?
We were one of those. We were working with the Barnum Museum, and it was actually one of those that we couldn't pull it off. And that is an interesting lesson also, because sometimes no matter what your plans are, you go down the road and there's a roadblock at the end. And it seems like every couple or 3 years we have that happens, and we don't ever want the people that are doing it to feel like they failed, because it's all about the process. It's the project itself is wonderful, but it's the process of working together as a team and trying to figure out how to get it done. And not everything works.
Right, that's true. Our project that we worked on with our small group when we broke off, we were working on the Long Island Sound as far as the oxygen loss, hypoxia, I believe it is, it's called. And it was very interesting. There's another group that actually did a garden at Roosevelt High School for the kids, and it was interesting because when they came by, they brought back the information, and those elementary kids actually questioned why they were there and would they stay, would they really fulfill their promise. It's very interesting, and they did, and everybody, it was a success. It was very a success.
One of the things we implemented a few years ago was, I know when you and I did it, they put you in your group and you sort of looked at each other and said, well, what are we going to do? And we do it a little bit differently now. We actually solicit our nonprofit members, which we have about 60, so we have a good pool, to submit projects to be considered. So
Oh,
you
very
don't
good.
have the couple months of spinning your wheels trying to figure
Right.
out what you're going to do. You
Exactly.
can jump in a little bit easier.
Oh, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
And so we also have a couple other things too. A couple years ago, we launched our Thrive Emerging Leaders, which is for leaders between the ages of 21 and 40. It's a really dynamic group. They have a fantastic volunteer board. Well, all of our programs have great boards. But they do a social event every month. They've done some professional development. They actually wanted to do an etiquette dinner, because you go out to business dinners and what's proper etiquette, and that's was such a part of our parents' generation, and
Yes.
really isn't with ours.
That's true.
And so they do that, and they're doing some community service projects as well. So we're really proud of that program, and it continues to grow. Our Women's Leadership Council, interestingly, 25 years ago or whenever it started, was all about trying to get more women leaders in board positions. And now the focus has shifted over the years to be more professional development. So that's where we get some of the professional development pieces. Informational, we have 2 events a year with women's leadership that we put together an outstanding panel around a topic. So we just did one a couple weeks ago on We Too, so navigating sexual harassment in the workplace. And we had an HR director, we had an attorney, we had someone who has written books on the topic. So very diverse panel. We did one last year on what is your brand ID, because there's personal branding as well as professional branding. Yeah, we did one on entrepreneurship, how to think like an entrepreneur even if you work for someone else. So that's great. And we actually have a brand new program this year called our Chief Executive Peer Group, and it launched in January. We have about 15 participants who are either executives or leaders of their companies, and we meet once a month, and there's a facilitator. We talk about different topics. If you have a specific problem you're dealing with that you want to bring to the group, you can do that. Otherwise, we just talk about topical things. It's been really great.
That's
We're
fantastic.
very proud of that program.
And it sounds like some of those programs are apropos for this area that we're in today.
Yep.
Now, you kind of talked about this, but can you go into it a little bit more? Describe the leadership programs of the BRBC.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do, we have the 4 programs. So we have Leadership Greater Bridgeport, Thrive, Women's Leadership, and our Chief Executive Peer Group. And our goal going forward is they are 4 very important and very valuable programs. But how can we bring them sort of under one umbrella where we're looking at it as a wider approach, not leadership does this, Thrive does this. So what is the overall bigger message? Because I think there's a value there, and there's an opportunity for us going forward to just kind of look at that a little bit differently. So that's one of our goals
That's
over the next
fantastic.
couple of
That's
years. Yeah.
Well, it seems like leadership has had a positive effect on you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you made me think about that because, what I'm doing now, all right, is part of that role in helping foster networking opportunities, companies being able to come onto the program
Right.
and actually do this in a free basis, in a free environment.
Which is important.
Which it's fantastic. Now, tell me about what the BRBC does as far as economic development and government relations are
That's a
concerned.
great question. We have an economic development committee, and we have a government relations committee. So one of the things that we do with our economic development committee, I actually wish I brought it today, is we do a report called the Quarterly Review of Economic Development. And we frankly got a little tired of people saying there's nothing good going on in the region. So we started this publication. This is our 3rd or 4th year. And we do it 4 times a year, and it's a beautiful product that highlights all of the economic, not all, we can't fit it all, which is a nice thing to be able to say, projects that are going on in our region. And it's not just Bridgeport. It's Bridgeport, Stratford, Trumbull, Easton, Monroe, Fairfield, and Shelton. And so there's a lot of projects in there. So whether it's just starting, it's been approved, whether it's in process, we try to capture the investment, the capital investment, and the jobs created. And we send that out not just to the BRBC members, but we also send it out twice a year through the Fairfield County Business Journal as an insert. And I think it's eye-opening for people to see all the great things that are going on here. So that's important. I think sometimes being the one to spread the good news is important. And I think, Bridgeport, like a lot of urban areas, there's always bad news. So you want to promote the good things, and there are a lot. We also have very close relationships with the economic development departments in all three of our towns. We work very closely in Bridgeport, Stratford, and Trumbull especially. The economic development directors sit on the boards of our Trumbull Chamber and our Stratford Chamber. We have 2 people on our staff that work very closely with Bridgeport's Office of Planning and Economic Development. So, and especially in Bridgeport, they have an awful lot to do with a small staff like we all do. So some of the things that we could help them with are maybe project-based things, or just helping to visit businesses that are interested in coming to the area or expanding in the area. We do have 2 people on the staff, and actually a consultant that helps in that regard. And the consultant, actually, his work is primarily in the area of green businesses. So he's worked with a lot of the businesses over on the West End in the Ecotechnology Park. So Future Healthcare Systems, which recycles medical waste. Jeff Lightman, who's the consultant, was very instrumental in bringing him here. So there's a lot of great examples of that.
Matter of fact, talking about healthcare, I think Harding High School is going to be in that department as it's finished being built.
Which is a perfect location because they're right near the hospital.
Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
It's great.
Excellent. Now, what kind of events does the BRBC have?
Yeah, well, it's a good variety. So I mentioned a couple before. So we do our monthly networking events. We do several business after hours a year. We tend to focus on the ones that we know people love. We do one at People's United Bank at the beginning of every year that people love. We do one at Two Roads every year. We do one at Captain's Cove every year. We know our members love those. It's tried and true. We will always get 100 to 200 people depending on the event, and we love them too.
People like beer, huh?
Yeah, people like beer, and they know that there will be a lot of people there, and that's important. And one of the things that we have made available to, well, not just to our members, but anybody that wants to come to our events is the day before the event, if you go on our website and click on the event, you can see the people that have registered. So you might say, oh, well, I see so-and-so from this company, and I would like to meet them. And if you ask the BRBC staff, we will certainly try to help make those introductions. So that's important. We do our annual meeting and annual dinner, which I mentioned. One other thing that we do every year is we do an address to the business community from the mayor of Bridgeport, the mayor of Stratford, and the first selectman of Trumbull. I think that's important for them to come and talk about their vision. Primarily, it's focused on economic development because it's an address to the business community, but those things are really important. And we have a pretty good schedule of capital breakfasts, capital lunches that are really designed by our government relations committee. We just had the chairs of the Fiscal Stability Commission. There's a fiscal stability report that was given to the state of Connecticut about how our state can be more fiscally stable. We had their 2 co-chairs come and talk, and it was really enlightening and eye-opening and slightly frightening, but very interesting nonetheless.
I think I was there.
Yeah. We've
so
had.
Was that Housatonic, wasn't it?
No. This one was at the Holiday Inn, but they have talked all around the state, so you may have seen them somewhere else. We did an event this year that was new for us called Government 101. A lot of people just have no clue what actually goes on in Hartford. When the legislature starts in either January or February, depending on whether it's a short session or a long one, what is it they do, and how are bills introduced, and what is the process of getting them passed, and how, if you are a business owner, how can you make a difference? And I think it's understanding what are the bills out there that could affect the business community, which I think is an important role for us. And also we had a couple people, we had some lobbyists talking about that process, and we had a couple of people that have had success getting bills through the legislature that affected their business. So it was very interesting, and it was a new event for us. We probably had 50 people there. We would have liked a lot more, but the 50 people that were there walked away, and many of them said, this is the best BRBC event I've ever gone to. Because it was really interesting. Very fascinating. And we've typically had Governor Malloy every year too. So I hope when there's a new governor, that will be an annual thing as well.
That would be good. Now, what are the various ways members can become engaged in the BRBC? Because this is a situation, I think this is important. Because what I found that over time, when I mentioned about BRBC, a lot of small businesses feel that they don't think about them.
Right, and that's true, and we understand that. I think that is the perception, that we are all about, people's bank and you know all the large members. But as I mentioned earlier, 75% of our members are small businesses, so that is important to us. I also think that you know, people see us. We have a beautiful office on the 14th floor at 10 Middle Street, and I think some people think that that means we don't understand what it's like for the people that are down street front and working hard with one or two people in a shop, and we do, because I'll tell you, we have a staff of 8. Only 4 of us are full time, and we understand the challenges of trying to do more with less. Our staff has shrunk considerably in my time there. So I think looking at the programs we offer for small business is important. So it is the networking events, and it's about connections. And what we tell people all the time is you have to get engaged, and engagement is different for everybody. Some people want to serve on boards and committees or volunteer their time, and that's wonderful. Other people just want to come to events. But the best thing that we can do is sit with a member and talk to them. That's when you really can kind of understand where their pain points are and how we can help them. So the members that really get engaged, if you join the Chamber of Commerce and you sit in your office and think just because you're on our website, you're going to start to get people knocking on your door. If you're in the hospitality industry, any restaurants, lodging, yes, you will get traffic on our website because that's the most visited thing. But for other things, it's important for us to have a conversation and try to understand what you need. I think our monthly coffee contacts event, I tell people come all the time. You'll always meet new people, and it's one of the rare events that as you're sitting there, we go around the room and you can introduce yourself, give your 30 to 60 second elevator speech, who you are, what you do, and invariably when the event is over and people have a chance to talk, you'll see the people gravitate towards each other that know there's a synergy. So those opportunities are important. And also, as I mentioned, sitting down. If you sit down with us, every member has a membership concierge that is your go-to person. And even if it's a question like, I need a new website, who should I talk to? We like to provide those resources as well. We have 700 members. We have a great pool of resources that we would love our members to take advantage of.
That's fantastic.
Then we're also encouraging people to do business locally as well, which is important.
Now, this is a very good question. Matter of fact, while you were talking, I was thinking about this. As we live in a digital age, are people still interested in networking events? And let me just mention about this, because this was just on the news the other day. And it was talking about how a lot of people are depressed these days. And the reason being is that they're texting instead of having eyeball to eyeball, kneecap to kneecap conversations.
Right.
They're missing that contact, and they don't realize it. So what is your answer to that?
Yeah, and I think several years ago, I think that was a big worry for organizations like Chambers of Commerce, because when social media really started exploding and it went from Facebook being just for college students to Facebook being for everybody, and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and all of those other things, I think it was a legitimate concern. But what we have found is people still want to do business face to face. You want to do business with someone you know and trust, and you can't get that through social media. Social media is great for exposure for your business. It's not all one or the other. And I think when you're looking at how are you promoting yourself and your business, and social media, a good website, all of that is vital. But there's nothing like sitting talking to people face to face.
Exactly.
It's not going away, thank goodness.
That's for sure.
But to that point, I also think we have to be conscious of how do we promote ourselves to our members? Are we on social media enough? Are we promoting our members on social media enough? Are we making it easy for the Thrive emerging leaders to register for events? You know, they don't want to go register at the brbc.org for an event. They want to use Eventbrite because it's on their phones. So that's something we all have to be conscious of going forward.
All right, very good, very good. Now, what are the challenges that you face on a daily basis?
I think, as I mentioned, like a lot of other organizations, you do more with less. We have a phenomenal staff of talented people that work very, very hard. But you always, there's certain things you want to do and initiatives that going forward, you have to make the time. And we are actually in an interesting time at the Business Council now because we are undergoing a strategic planning process. We really are trying to learn what the needs of businesses are. What do our members in any business, what will they need from us in 3 to 5 years? And we're exploring and talking to companies to learn that and try to get that information. We're working with a fantastic facilitator who uses the blue ocean strategy, which is find your own place, find the blue ocean, not the red ocean where everybody else is. So I think chambers have to constantly evolve as they go forward.
Oh, very good, very good. Now, any new initiatives taking place at the BRBC?
Yep. The strategic planning process is a big one, and we'll see how we go through that. At the end of the year, it'll be very interesting to see what new things we're going to do, and then what things we'll have to let go. We have a brand new publication called Region, which is taking the place of our membership directory. That will be sent out in June to 4,000 businesses, where we used to send it to 1,200 employees of BRBC companies. So basically, we're advertising where we already are, but we're going beyond that to other businesses, which is better visibility for our members. We're planning an expo in the fall, so lots of great things going on.
I had to ask you this question because I think our conversation already shows that you love everything about your
I do love it. I do love it. It's different every day. That's the best part. It's different every day. I get to meet interesting people. Certainly, we all spend a lot of time at our desk doing the more routines, but I love my job.
That's fantastic. We're running out of time here, but I want to talk about this book because it goes hand in hand with what you're doing.
Yep.
And this is Jeffrey Gitmore's book on the Little Black Book of Connections or networking. And it will take you into it'll delve into the networking process and actually help you to be a great networker out there. And how do you feel about networking anyways? As far as
networking is important, and there are, it's not just about walking into a room and introducing yourself and handing out your business card. It's about having genuine conversations and having genuine interest in what people say. This conversation was you're asking me questions, I'm answering them, but if you and I were at a networking event, it would be very important for me to ask you about what you do and what's important to you. And I think one of the things people complain about name tags at events, I think it's the best thing, because if you don't know someone, you can look at their name tag, you know their name, and you see what company they work for, and you can say, well, what do you do? Or if you said you're with SCORE, tell me about some of the new things with SCORE. It's about engagement and talking to people and being genuine, and then following up. And the people that are the best at that are the ones that are the connectors. The ones that are worried about connecting other people, not so much about themselves, because it comes back to them tenfold.
Yes.